I love this game, but unfortunately I suck at it. So I'm playing every single race and possibly every single faction to go from this to this. So far I've played the French, the British, and now it's time for sexy German vampires. So right off the bat, no pun intended, I put Isabella in my army, because apparently with this campaign you start with two heroes, which is nice. I also sent Miss Posner over here to spread some of her vampire juices up in the Dwarven Mountains. And I took the auto resolve in the first battle, giving us a decisive victory, and then moved on to our first settlement, which I also auto resolved. I know, right? It's absolutely riveting content. I then recruited some more skeletons, because, they're skeletons, so I needed a bit more of them to have them be effective. I did some upgrades and some research, and then blah blah blah, and with that, the campaign of VLAD von Carstein was on. We took Waldenhof pretty easily too, and just as I was about to go for the enemy capital and destroy them, I heard a familiar voice.
Quest has been issued, mighty lord. A great adventure beckons.
So we definitely had to do that at some point. Another mission was also now completed, as we had secured 2 provinces, and we issued a commandment. Then I went on to awaken a lord from one of the 4 bloodlines. Because, well, if you didn't know, in this campaign you get blood kisses from killing enemy faction leaders, and you can use these blood kisses to awaken some pretty good lords, who are also by default immortal. Awakening lords also gives you faction-wide bonuses like increased casualty replenishment rates or better diplomatic relations. But, most importantly, you also get access to the only missile units in the entire faction, which are Sylvanian crossbowmen and Sylvanian handgunners. Now you can scream nepotism all you want, but my first choice was to awaken a lord from the Carstein bloodline. Having a look at the map, we were pretty much surrounded by various empire factions with some gross dwarfs in the mountains at our backs. We did have some ruins next to us though, so I want to capture those for a nice free settlement. And now for the next few turns, they were pretty standard, aka boring, just consisted of upgrading and recruiting. But then, for some reason, this dwarf army led by Barudin decided to trespass into my lands, which didn't sit right with me because they were alive. So I naturally declared war on them and went on the offensive. They ran away, but we caught up with them, and at last had our first proper battle. Now this was a pretty fun fight. Usually I hate fighting dwarves, but I had quite a few armor-piercing units, like my Cairn Wraiths, and some direwolves and fellbats to help harass their catapults. Vlad was also tearing through the dwarves with ease, and my Vargheists were super happy being able to feast on dwarven flesh. We got a solid close victory here as well, beating the auto-resolve result, and killed Baradin. So that was a pretty good fight. Having taken the dwarves out, I marched on Zufbar and claimed it for myself. And after taking another settlement from Barudin, word had finally gotten to Ungrim Ironfist that I was moving up into the mountains and attacking his brethren, so he, annoyingly, declared war on me. He was also a lot closer than I thought he was, so I panicked and got our blood-kissed Caspar von Carstein recruited to hopefully amass some sort of defense. I moved Vlad in as well and attempted to catch the Iron Fister in an ambush, but it was foiled. Auto-resolve said valiant defeat, but losing this battle would be awful for the war effort, so I went in to fight it. One thing I haven't mentioned is that Vlad's entire army has Vanguard deployment, which is not only amazing, but also saved my grey vampire skin more times than I can count throughout this campaign. This battle was definitely a Pyrrhic one though, and we suffered a lot of casualties. Thankfully, all my units are already dead, so we can just raise them back up. I was able to wrap around the dwarves eventually and secure the win, but I will give them this. It was close. Very close. The thing was, though, I didn't really want to fight Ungrim and his Fists of Iron, and although I understood his aggression, I needed peace to properly build my armies and settlements. Also, my main quarrel and objective right now is to take Empire lands, not these cold, freezing mountains. So, using my epic brain, I designed an amazing deal for Ungrim, which he took. Peace was never an option though, as Elspeth von Draken declared war on me shortly after I brokered the peace with Ungrim. Problem was that although Elspeth could clearly see me, the fog of war kept her in the shadows, so I declared war on Averland and took the Moot and Averheim to get a better line of sight. I then got Caspar to reinforce me and took down Marius Leitdorf and thereby destroying Averland, leaving me to focus on Elspeth. And then, literally out of nowhere, the Nemesis crown showed itself, so I attacked the bearer, some random greenskin army, and claimed it for myself. Elspeth and her breathers didn't like that very much though, so she attacked poor Baron Geldrich alongside Jurgen Wolfhart. Luckily, like I said, Baron Geldrich is immortal, because he was raised through a blood kiss, so no biggie. Though I did lose land, so kind of a biggie. And Jurgen kept moving ahead, sacking the moot, and Wissenland and Nuln's ferocious advance made me slightly worried, so I moved both Caspar and Vlad's armies back to my capital to recruit some more units and establish a strong defensive position. I moved Caspar up into the mountains in case Ungrim attacked me again, because he was also starting to get agitated. Elspeth had now also taken Castle Tempelhof from me and was getting dangerously close. So, while Elspeth and Jurgen Wolfhart were ravaging my lands, I snuck off to do the first quest battle. Yeah, remember that? Thanks to Vlad's vanguard deployment, I enveloped this Empire army within the first 10 or so seconds of the battle. I had my direwolves go straight for their rocket battery, as it would undoubtedly wreak havoc on my very fragile skeleton front line. I also came in with my Varg heists to definitely make sure the Hellstorm rockets didn't fire a single shot, and then made a nice skeleton Oreo with Empire filling. Isabella spawned some zombies in the middle of the Empire blob to confuse them even more. Then, literally on the other side of the map, more Empire troops came in, so I had Vlad go over there to solo them, which he did perfectly fine. Battle wasn't over though, as a third reinforcing army came in and started blasting us from the trees, but we caught up with them pretty quickly and slaughtered them all. And with my newfound sword, the Blood Drinker, and an improved army, I went on the offensive. It was time to fight back. Jurgen was the first on my kill list, as he had savagely led the attack on Baron Geldrich. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty proud of this one. Like I said in the start of the video, I am not very good at this game, so turning a Pyrrhic victory into a decisive one is pretty crazy on my part. Because in the past, I've turned decisive victories into valiant defeats. And I mean, come on, 92 losses? That's insane. With that victory though, Elspeth and her war effort had suffered a pretty big defeat, because she really only had 2 armies, one of which was now annihilated. And as you can see, she did not like that one bit, as she besieged me like the next turn. And once again we went into battle, another devastating blow for Elspeth there, and we turned the Pyrrhic victory into a close victory. Not as impressive, but still good. After these massive defeats, Elspeth was beaten back, and I had some breathing room to do the second and final quest battle. This time against my own kind, a Strigoi called Leopold. This quest battle gave Vlad the Carstein Ring, which has an ability that provides him with a 60% ward save. Combine that with the 10% ward save he gets from the Trickster's Helm, that gives him a total of 70% ward save when the ring ability is active. And he also has quite a few healing options from both his sword, the Blood Drinker, and through magic, making him very hard to take down, so pretty damn good. After the defeats of Elspeth and Jurgen and Vlad marching on Wissenland itself, Wissenland and Nuln went down pretty easily. I then went on to take out yet another Empire faction, Stirland, and defeated Alberic Hope Anderson. Alberic, more like I'll be rich, take in your lands. With a sizable chunk of Empire land under vampiric control, I noticed Belagar wasn't too happy with me. And if I was to march on Karl Franz, which was one of the victory conditions, I didn't want to do that with a bunch of annoyed dwarves to my rear. So I declared war on Belagar, hoping to wipe his short and beardy body off the earth. Before I went into this war though, I had put quite a bit of research into my ghost guys, seeing as they're pretty effective against armor, and as well as gave them a barrier for some extra health. To my surprise, besides a couple of defeats here and there, the war with the dwarves was actually going pretty good, until, out of goddamn nowhere, Tretch Craventail of Clan Rictus decided to attack me. So now, not only was I fighting in the mountains and protecting my borders, I also had to play whack-a-rat within my own lands. Absolutely great. This war was no longer in my favor though, and a good strategist knows when it's time to take a step back. So, again, using my epic grey and blood-soaked brain, I brokered a peace treaty with Belagar so I could focus on my pest problem. Tretch and his boys managed to raise and take quite a few of my settlements before I could come back down from the mountains, but eventually I was able to track some of them down. After a few wins on my side, Tretch managed to catch me in an ambush, which I honestly think is one of the most important battles of this campaign. This was so close to my capital, and Tretch still had a lot of armies hiding about, so this was a crucial battle for the war, and the odds were heavily stacked against me. We were attacked by pretty much 2 full stacks, and although I could probably have survived okay with the one ambushing me, the reinforcing army was a devastating blow. We took so many casualties, it's not even funny. But remember how I said that Vlad was pretty hard to take down? Yeah, well, that's what saved this battle. By the end, it was pretty much just him and a few spare Varg heists, but we somehow got the win. And with this insane victory, Tretch and the Rat Gang had suffered a severe blow, and the war was now very much in my favor. The Nemesis crown, though, was getting to be more of a burden, so I sealed it away. The Rat War went on for quite a while, and for some dumb reason, Clan Moors decided to get involved, which of course they did. I've said it before, and I will say it again, I really, really hate Skaven. After literally like 80 turns, I had finally taken care of the rodent threat for good. This took insanely long though, and was probably 50 plus battles, so way too much for a side quest, which this really was, because like I said, I was kinda supposed to go after Reichland and the Empire. But alas, the game is called Total War. Long story short though, I kill Rat, I take Rat's place, Rat kills me, and I kill Rat again. And eventually I had beaten Clan Moors into a pulp, which made me strong enough to broker a peace agreement with them. And I didn't really want to go after them because they were so far spread out and it would have taken so many more hours to exterminate them. So peace, in this case, was the better option. Clan Rictus, on the other hand, did not get that privilege, and although they offered me peace several times, I knew better and slaughtered them all. With the Skaven neutralized, it was time to finally move on the big boy himself, Karl Franz. As you can see here, Karl was heavily connected, more so than I thought, but nevertheless he was going down, and Vlad himself was leading the attack by taking Hergig. The assault on Karl was going pretty smoothly, and call it superstition if you will, but it was going too smoothly. For my skill level, at least. But we took some settlements, caught some of Karl's armies in ambushes, and won every battle, until this happened. The Ice Court, to no surprise, came in and flanked my army. I really wanted to meet them out in the open field though, so I could take full advantage of Vlad's vanguard deployment. So we sallied out to meet them. They had some crazy units that I've never seen before, like these bodybuilding Vendigos, and it was a pretty tough army to take down. I split my army up into 2, which helped out a lot, and I eventually secured a victory. And although we survived the Kislev attack, the Wood Elves of Talsin kept biting off settlements all over and was pretty tough to stop as my armies were spread so far out. The Chaos Dwarfs, though, were all of a sudden super into us and offered us a pretty good trade agreement. Demon Dwarfs aside, I needed to find a way out of being attacked from all angles, so I went into super diplomacy mode. Now, my war with the Skaven a few turns back had given me tons of settlements I didn't really need or care for, which were very conveniently right next to both the Wood Elves and the Ice Court. So again, using my epic vampire brain, I negotiated peace treaties with Orion and Serena Katarina, leaving me to focus on Karl Franz and his soon-to-fall empire. Most of this war was my full-stacked armies very easily taking empire settlements with decisive victories, but occasionally I'd run into an actual army like this one here. Eventually, though, Vlad ran into Karl himself, and we finally had the ultimate showdown. Once again, Vlad's vanguard deployment came in super clutch, and I was able to wrap around most of Karl's army. He did have reinforcements, though, so I camped the reinforcement spot with some skeleton halberds. We took a lot of casualties in this one. I mean, they had a goddamn landship, and what the fuck is this missile damage? No matter though, because Karl was no match for Vlad and Isabella, the vampire Powell couple of the century. After this battle though, Franz and his men kinda crumbled, and I was able to fully drive him out of his lands. And I thought I'd wiped him out at this point, but turns out that somewhere along the line he captured 4 settlements, like way up north. And I figured he would die off though, as he had several other enemies up there literally bordering him. So instead of marching all the way up, I turned my head towards the mountains. Skarsnik, to be exact. Which after this one pretty tough battle was, well, easy. Because Skarsnik only had like 4 settlements scattered across the mountains. I went full epic vampire brain again after that, and used some of Skarsnik's old settlements to get Serena off my back, because she was getting antsy due to my ongoing war with Reichland. However, I also got her to break off the defensive pact she had with Belagar Ironhammer. Because guess what? Me and Belagar share one thing: we both hold grudges, and he was the next on my kill list. And, well, Karl Franz still hadn't been killed off, so I needed something to do. And hammer Belagar I did. And then, oh my fucking god, Karl Franz had been seduced by Slanesh. And I mean, while being a Slaneshi pleasure dog seemed fitting for Karl Franz, destroying him was literally my one remaining victory condition. So I had no choice but to declare war on Slanesh as well. Oh, and right, remember how I said I hold grudges? Yeah, I also took out Orion and vampired up his whole forest. At this point, though, I was running out of enemies back home, and Karl Franz was under Slaneshi protection, so I decided to go up there myself. Because if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. I'm looking at you, Sigvald. I swear this campaign also hates me, because as I was landing on the North Shores, this message pops up. Great! The faction I just destroyed is being revived. Karl Franz's settlements were falling quickly, though, to my 3 full stacks, which included Vlad himself, and in desperation he threw himself at one of my settlements, full of skeletons and zombies, which somehow gave me a heroic victory. And I took it, to save time, or whatever. Karl lived, though, so I had Rudy finish him off, and just as Reichland fell, guess what? I didn't control all Empire settlements required for the long victory. So, as I scrambled to seize the last settlement, which thankfully was just razed, it began. The wild hunt was on. It wasn't that bad though, thankfully, as I had prepared somewhat by recruiting lots of lords with top tier units, but we did lose a few settlements and suffer some losses before striking back. I did get Vlad back down just in time to help out, and this, right here, was the final battle of this campaign, which coincidentally also blocked the last of the Empire settlements needed for the long victory. A settlement I previously owned before these annoying elves came and took it. And there it is. Long campaign victory and ultimate campaign victory. This was such a fun campaign to play though, and it offered a bit of a different playstyle to what I'm used to. And honestly, I can also tell I'm getting better, which is fun. I am still playing on normal though, but let's not bring that up. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and if you haven't played as VLAD von Carstein, definitely do so. It's a sure favorite of mine so far. 9.2 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions to which campaign should be next, let me know. Until next time, goodbye.